Welcome to another edition of Story Behind the Music. I'm Darren Story, and as we continue to unveil the stories of mi-Ling Stone Poole, the little red Corvette, and mi-Ling is on with me. Hi, mi-Ling. How are you?
Hi, Darren. How are you?
Good, good. We got more stuff to add to the treasure trove of stuff as we uncover everything. And we have your big sister on. Hi, Kim. How are you?
Hi.
Good, good.
How are you?
I'm doing good. So you obviously watched. You were kind of a spectator to mi-Ling's relationship with Prince, and you actually gave something to the book as well. There was this encounter with you and Prince at a club. And why don't you tell us about that encounter, and then also what you may have gleaned from that encounter from him?
Well, it was, I couldn't even tell you what year, but it wasn't too long after she had left the Twin Cities. And I was at the Oz, which was a popular disco downtown St. Paul.
I know the place well.
And at that time I was pardon me?
I said I know the place well.
Oh, yeah. And at that time, I was a smoker. So I went outside to smoke, and I was standing against the wall where the doorway was there, and he came out and stood there, and I said, "Hi, Prince." And he said, "Hi." And that was about it. He just stood there. We just stood there because both of us were quiet anyway. So it seemed like he wanted me to say something, or he wanted to say something, and it never happened.
Did he just stand there and look at you for know?
He just stood there and looked forward.
Look forward. Because I'm trying to picture. So you're smoking, and he comes out, and you say hi, Prince, and he was just kind of like, okay.
He just stood there. He acknowledged me, and then he just stood there, and he didn't say anything, and I didn't say anything, and I thought, well, maybe he wants to ask me something, because I felt that he knew who I was, and
I think
we
he
used
knew.
to go to Lake Calhoun all the time, and he was always around there, and he saw us together, so I'm pretty sure he knew who I was, but he just wouldn't ask me. So.
Yeah, I mean, and you guys also have a very deep family resemblance, all of you. I mean, the Stone girls are pretty remarkable. So I imagine that he knew exactly who you were.
Well, plus he saw pictures in the house. When he would come over, she was working nights.
Gotcha.
So whenever Prince came over, she was never there.
Right.
And, she's my big sister, so I wasn't telling her all my business,
right. So probably if we were to speculate, because that's what I can do as the host of the show, I can speculate all I want. So probably what happened is that he came outside, you say, "Hi, Prince." He stands there, and in his mind he's thinking, "Aren't you going to tell me where mi-Ling is?"
I'm sure that's what he was thinking. He just stood there, and why would you, if you didn't smoke, why would you stand there next to me?
Right. So he's thinking,
I could have reached out and touched him, so he wasn't that far away.
Wow.
So I don't know.
So he stood there, and
then when you went, and Kim, then you told me that when you went back in, he went back in.
Yeah.
So what was that about?
I don't know. I think he lost his gumption to ask me. At any rate, I'm sure he was heartbroken.
Yes.
I mean, I know what I know now. I wish I had, pushed a conversation with him, because I'm pretty shy. And back then I was really shy myself, so.
Wow.
Right.
That's real. I tell you.
Had I done that, maybe things would have, because I felt like there was so much unanswered questions for both of them that, maybe it would have been a nice closure.
Yeah. On with mi-Ling Stone Poole, of course, the little red Corvette, and her big sister Kim Stone, recounting a encounter of Prince and Kim, and so many questions that could have been answered if both of them weren't just super shy. Like,
exactly. And she was probably the wrong. Now, if he would have ran into Deanie, she would have told him everything, probably.
Right.
She's one of the people that I told, and I said, "Don't you tell nobody." And but she kept that secret. But I'm sure she would have said, "Give me your number. I'll have Mi-Ling call." She calls me Mi-Ling. But
well, Deanie sounds like the type of person that would have, if that had happened to Deanie, and he's like, she sounded like the type of person. So what you looking at? Your sad self. You want to know what Mi-Ling is, right?
Exactly.
Why don't you just ask me? Why don't you just ask me?
Exactly.
I don't know Deanie, but just all the times you've talked about her, that just sound like how she would have probably. What you looking at? You want to know what Mi-Ling is, don't you?
Yep, she would have.
She's a great miss. She has her own language too. I mean,
and she has a story about going to his birthday party. So we're gonna have to get her on. She went to his birthday party, and she didn't have a ticket to get in, but she got in. It's really an interesting story. So
we'll have to do that.
That's when he was celebrating birthdays.
Right. That was, yeah, exactly.
When he was celebrating birthdays. But Kim and I, we lived together for a couple of years when I was at the U, and we went to the same clubs together. And
I remember looking for you one time down at the Fox Trap, and I know this guy. I can see his face, but I couldn't tell you what his name is. But I said, "Have you seen my sister?" And he said, "Your sister?" And I said, "Yeah." And I described her. And he said, "Oh, you mean Disco Queen?" And I'm just like, "Okay." "Oh, you talking about disco?" "Yeah." "Oh, I hadn't seen her. I don't know." It was
I've
crazy.
done it all. I did the disco dancing at the Oz, and then they had disco at La Chic, too.
Yeah, she used to make me tired watching her.
Huh?
You used to make me tired watching you. I'm like, Jesus, how could she dance like that? But something else.
Well, obviously your reputation precedes you, Mi-Ling.
And I would dance by myself. I just didn't even have to dance with nobody. It was a form of therapy for me.
Right.
She could have been a professional dancer, actually, but
yeah.
Oh man, there's got to be more photos of you. Got to be.
Yeah, well, I do have. There is one that I found of me dancing. Actually, two pictures I found of me dancing. One was at the Flame, and one was at the Foxtrot. So those will be in the book. But they just don't. I wish I had the video. I wish I had the video of Prince and I that night.
That would have been hilarious.
That would have been hilarious.
Got that imprinted in her brain.
It's imprinted. We're going to talk about Kim. We're going to save for the book. But, yeah, it is imprinted, and Deanie was falling off the counter laughing. And, I mean, Prince remembered it so much that he used it again. So it was just, it was an incredible time, young at heart, free-spirited, we were, like Gary Hines said, we really had a lot of cultural stuff going on in Minnesota back then. There was that crowd of people that you would think you were in Chicago or Atlanta or somewhere else. You walk in, it's everybody in there was mostly, even though it's a mixed crowd, it was mostly black. And, it was just our little haven on our ladies' night and on the weekend. And then throughout the week, they had other types of music. That's how they used to do. But, and then we used to hang out at the lake all the time. I would roller skate out there. Well, Kim wouldn't get in no skates.
No, I wasn't skating, but we used to walk around the lake. I always saw him on the lake. He was always walking towards us.
Yeah, with Andre.
He'd walk the opposite direction that everybody else.
Of course.
Was coming, I guess he wanted to see it.
Of course.
Which I thought was kind of odd because everybody else was walking clockwise around.
No,
and he was walking the opposite.
Well, he's going to be contrary. That's just part of who he is, who he was.
And I would nod, and he would nod, because that was our way of acknowledging each other. But
he knew you were. I mean, he saw pictures of us at home in the house. I told.
But anyway, it's too bad we didn't take more pictures back then, because people nobody had a cell phone back then.
That's a really great story, and like I said, the difference between your life changing irrevocably one way or another could have possibly hinged on that encounter in which nothing happened. But could have been, life changing if you guys had struck up an actual conversation. If he hadn't had the nerve to ask you, hey, where's your sister? I haven't seen her. She hasn't called.
I regret that I didn't open up to him, especially knowing what his demise was going to be. So,
yeah, interesting.
It's too bad.
Yeah,
it's sad.
Well, but things happen the way they're supposed to happen, I suppose.
Right.
So.
I mean, it's doubtful that I would have went back home because, I was in college and girls in school. I
think Prince would have just kind of moseyed down to Lawrence, Kansas. Nobody would have probably really recognized him. Just another brother walking around with an afro. I guess.
He didn't have an afro.
Or maybe his hair was permed out then.
Yeah, his hair was permed out when we dated.
He would have pulled up in a limousine, and somebody would have wondered who that was, probably.
Well, and see, I had already started a semi-relationship. I had met my husband-to-be at that point. I ran into his arms, but I had other opportunities to go home. And, I just don't think it was meant to be. I think I would have loved to have a friendship. I would have, and, I feel like if I would have had a connection, the thing is that because I didn't, how many songs did he write? I mean, you know what I mean? So Prince writes from life experience, and even in the upcoming book they talk about, he said, music is healing. So it's a quote from his book that's coming out. So, I mean, I think everything happened the way it was supposed to happen. I don't think he would have ever written Little Red Corvette if I was still in his life, and some of the other songs. And really, Five Women to me is like a love song. Even more so than Little Red Corvette was more like an unrequited love. But Five Women is like, I want you, but I'm afraid of you. I'm terrified because you're unpredictable. And, so
you said a mouthful.
I think everything was supposed to happen. Sometimes you're in people's life, just to pave a way for them or to inspire them, or
I think that's an interesting thought, though, mi-Ling, that if you had stayed in his life, he doesn't write Little Red Corvette, and that's interesting. That's an interesting perspective, because if you stay in his life, then your relationship is elongated, and I think the fact that your time with him was relatively brief, that enabled him to encapsulate all of that into that song. It gets into too much more time, probably changes his perspective about you too.
Absolutely.
And the fact that what if something that happened and you actually got serious, he probably doesn't write a song like that about you.
And see, in Five Women, I think that song to me now has become so special because it is kind of the song that he mourns me, where, he says it took 5 women to get you off my mind, took 5 months of plenty of wasted time, but it just took 5 minutes when I saw your face again to fall in love all over. I guess with you, I'll never win. And that was the night. That was actually the last night that we were together that I saw him. And that's, story in the book.
Yep. All right. Well,
thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you both. And this is another chapter. And I'm Darren Story, and you're listening to another Little Red Corvette edition of Story Behind the Music.